Welcome to this explainer. If you've watched a modern animated movie lately and thought, wow, this world feels incredibly vibrant and tactile, well, you really have one groundbreaking design to thank for that. Ava Thompson. Today, we are going behind the screen. We're going to see exactly how her creation completely shattered that lifeless, plastic look of early CGI and just rewrote the global animation rulebook.
Okay, so for years, 3D animation was kind of trapped in this plastic problem. Honestly, no matter how much money studios threw at rendering engines, the characters still suffered from stiff movements and this unnaturally shiny, flawless skin. They basically look like toys in a commercial. But Ava's creators, they completely rejected that. Instead, they gave her these tiny, subtle freckles, asymmetrical facial expressions, and super grounded details, like actual smudges and micro scratches on her goggles. She didn't look like a pristine digital file anymore. She looked real and beautifully imperfect.
Section 1. The plastic problem. Breaking the realism trap.
So historically, studios were caught in this trap. They'd chase extreme photorealism and end up with unconvincing, stiff characters, or they'd just settle for flat, basic shading. To fix this, Ava's team pioneered a brilliant middle ground called stylized PBR, or physically based rendering. Basically, this meant that materials like metal, glass, and fabric reflected light exactly as they would in the real world, but that strict physical light logic was applied to a wildly exaggerated, cartoony design.
And you can really see this macro shift starting at the micro level. Once they built that exaggerated model and applied the physical light logic, they zeroed in on tangible textures. Like if you zoom in on Ava's signature neon pink hoodie, you'll actually find a custom fabric shader that mimics the exact weight, cotton weave, and even the microscopic fuzz of a real garment. In older 3D, that hoodie would have just been a smooth pink lump. By grounding these wild designs in tangible textures, they made Ava feel like someone you could literally reach out and touch.
Moving right along to Section 2, Breaking the 3D Rig, 2D Expression in a 3D World. This brings up such a fascinating question. How exactly do you bring fluid, 2D expression into a rigid 3D world? See, historically, trying to stretch and smear strict 3D anatomical models without making them look absolutely terrifying was next to impossible. 2D animators can effortlessly break physics, stretching faces to make an expression pop, but 3D rigs? They were completely bound by rigid digital bones.
What's really interesting here is how the technical directors answered this. They didn't just animate differently. They engineered a highly elastic facial and body rig designed specifically to break on command. They actually coded custom squash and stretch physics right into her bones. They even designed her mouth so it could slide completely to one side of her face, which perfectly matched the extreme asymmetrical charm of classic, hand-drawn concept art.
And my absolute favorite part? They hard-coded these fast-motion distortions directly into her 3D assets by engineering smear frames right into her geometry. So, when Ava turns her head really fast, her circular goggles actually stretch into elongated ovals for a fraction of a second just to sell the speed of that movement. It's this incredible blend of traditional hand-drawn principles with cutting-edge 3D rigging that brought that snappy, charming magic back to modern animation.
All right, Section 3. Handcrafting the light, the glow shader, and visual rhythm.
Now, it's one thing to design a colorful character, but it's a completely different beast trying to drop her into a moody, dynamically lit environment without totally washing out the scene. To make sure her warm, volumetric teal glow illuminated her face naturally, the designers actually had to build a proprietary real-time lighting tool specifically for her bright, neon pink and teal palette.
But while that proprietary lighting tool was a massive breakthrough, the real emotional magic happened manually. After establishing the dark environmental layers, the digital artists did something almost unthinkable. They completely bypassed the computer's automated eye lighting decisions. Instead, they went in and hand-animated the tiny white specular highlight dots into Ava's eyes for every single frame.
Why does this matter so much? Because hand-animating those specular highlights guarantees that Ava's emotional performance is never, ever lost in the shadows. By perfectly positioning those tiny circular reflections to catch your eye, they kept her looking completely alive and deeply expressive, regardless of how dark or chaotic the scene's lighting got. I mean, it was a totally painstaking process, but it was absolutely the anchor for her humanity.
Finally, let's look at Section 4, the new animation era, a canvas for art.
Because of the custom textures, the elastic rigs, and those handcrafted lighting tools pioneered for this one single character, the entire trajectory of the global animation industry shifted. Ava proved, definitively, that 3D didn't have to be a rigid simulation of reality. She literally liberated modern animators from the fear of 2D physics and texture. She opened the floodgates, directly paving the way for the incredibly stylized worlds we see in modern hits like Spider-Verse and Puss in Boots.
It really all boils down to this. Ava stands as a towering monument to a new philosophy. Stop trying to make computers merely copy real life and instead use them to bring the impossible to life. By fully embracing the artifice of animation, her creators managed to make something far more emotionally resonant than any photorealistic rendering ever could.
The tools now exist to make a painting breathe, to make a sketch run, and to make the impossible feel utterly real. We are no longer bound by strict digital reality. So, leaving you with that thought, what impossible worlds do you want to see animated next?